Hey YouTube, so a few of you in the comments are asking for a sort of combo tutorial slash gameplay examples for my Runick Spright deck. There aren't really hard and fast combos for it, but so I figured a test hand video would more accurately represent how you play out your hands. If you haven't seen the deck profile, make sure to check that out after this. Or before this. Links down below in the description. But yeah, so first we'll get shuffled up. I think even if you know a bit about how the deck functions, I think this is still a good example of maybe you haven't played it since last format. It's a good example of the sort of power level you can expect without Alf. What sort of boards and hands that it'll be putting up. But we'll just do a few hands. It obviously depends on if you know what your opponent's playing, if you have a good read on that. Usually in Top Cut you do, but if you're going in blind, game one, going first, that's sort of how I'm going to play all these hands. Okay, so first up, what a horrible brick this is. So this is about the worst hand you could possibly ask for. We have 3 of the 5 actual bricks in the deck, and then we have probably the absolute worst level 2 you could draw. The only other ones are Sprite cards and cards that'll draw you a card. This one does neither. But still, let's see what we can do with it. So we begin with Smiting Storm. Summon Hugin. Hugin will pitch one of the Lava Golems. To add the Fountain, of course. Yeah, this hand is insanely unlikely for you to draw, but it should be a good example of what you can do with a bad hand, hopefully. So then we're going to normal summon the Soul Scissors, just so we can actually do something. Overlay for a Gigantic Spright, and then we got 2 options here. You can Gigantic Spright effect and go into blue. Blue into Jet grab starter smashers, and then put up a Gin Buster, or maybe an IP or something. But I think the best way to play this deck is you want to keep your Runick engine going. You want to always have a Runick card in hand and keep drawing cards every turn. Obviously this is an incredibly unlucky sort of hand, so you normally don't have to choose. You don't normally have to do an all or nothing here, where if I go for a draw card, I'm gonna have literally no interruptions. You're normally just doing a slight trade-off of less interruptions, but you get to draw a card and get a higher likelihood of getting into a Runick. The other issue is if since again this is absolutely a horrible hand, if I draw into a Sprite card here, I've already used my normal summon, and also I don't have any Link or level 2s on board, so anything besides a carrot or a red won't be able to summon out right now. So drawing is very risky. I think that unfortunately we're gonna have to just so yeah, we wouldn't activate the Fountain if we're you don't activate the Fountain yet, but yeah, I think we're just gonna have the Gigantic effect for a blue, get a Jet, special Jet effect. And then honestly we'll probably get a starter just to guarantee follow-up. Well, you know what? No, this is just too weak. I think. I think the only way that you possibly win is just by taking the gamble. So we're gonna get Gigantic for Iperia. And then just pray that we draw into a Runick card. Alright, let's see. That is a Runick card. Okay, well, you basically just scoop the game up here. I guess you'd set an evenly, and then like 3200 Gigantic's fairly hard to get over, but they're probably going to clear these cards in battle phase. Hopefully they don't have a spell trap negate. You can evenly at the end of battle. Next turn you play the game. Like if you make it that far. Again, like this is astronomically low odds of all of those things going wrong for you. But like say a few things do go right and you make it to the next turn where you get the freeze and curses. We'll begin with a fountain. Let's say they have a board, probably Lava Golem first. But yeah, then a fountain. Freeze and curses for Hugin to put a 2 on board. Then we'll fountain. Target 2. Oh, I guess the other thing is we also did have that Soul Scissors engrave while they're clearing the board. Maybe just pop the, like say they had a monster that was a spell trap negate, you could pop that with the Soul Scissors, make your evenly go off. But yeah, fountain for 2. And now you're playing the game. We got both engines online. So we will blue for Jet. Jet for a... Usually Smashers is what I will go for. Since you're going to be drawing so many cards, there's a good chance you'll draw into either starter or what you'll be startering into. Also, at this point, we do have our guaranteed Runick card follow-up, so I could even just Gigantic for a red or carrot. But yeah, we're gonna overlay for Gigantic. And then honestly there I would, like at this point in this hypothetical game, we would already know what the opponent is playing. So we would know like what types of interrupt we need, if we need to get a carrot, if we need if making a Djinn Buster alongside this Flashing Fire, if that would be good. If we want to push a bit more on this turn, we could play the second Fountain and Flashing Fire to draw another card. But if I were to go that route, I would probably want to draw a card first. So I would Gigantic for the Cap Shell. And then, again, we have the option here of like making a Djinn Buster, which gives us like a 3200 body, the Smashers interrupt, the Djinn Buster interrupt, the Fountain in hand for follow-up, the Flashing Fire interrupt, and then we're going to get a draw off the Flashing Fire, a draw off the Cap Shell on the opponent's turn. And then the Flashing Fire draw. Wow, pretty terrible draws, but... Okay, the next hand, it's got to be better than that. I think it's impossible to be worse than that hand, unless I opened like literally all 5 of the going second cards, non-engine cards. But yeah, that like hypothetical turn 3 sort of should be should be a turn 1 under normal circumstances. But that's like sort of what you take into consideration of like Giganticing for specific things or just Giganticing for a draw. or say you're about to get a draw off a fountain, sometimes you just gigantic to thin your deck of your sprite cards, and then hopefully draw into more Runick cards. Okay, new hand. I mean, these hands are probably pretty good going second once you see the 6th card, but this is also below average, but not too bad. So we will begin. If Droll was in the format, we'd probably begin by freezing curses for Hugin and draw phase, but no one's playing Droll right now, so we can go to main phase. We can normal Hyperia and see what our next card is. Wow. How am I getting this unlucky? Well, anyways, we will freezing curses to summon Hugin. Hugin pitch the redundant copy of Lava Golem. Grab Fountain. And at least here, we do have that guaranteed Runick card that I was speaking of. We got the freezing curses in hand for the next turn. So we could go the route of gigantic for a blue, which I think I will do. So I'll gigantic, summon blue, blue effect, grab jet, special jet, grab a smashers. Sometimes you would grab a starter here if say you're against branded and you really need to establish that carrot. Now we're going to set the smashers. We'll link. Well, what's safer? If you're going blind, Djinn Buster is probably safer than Sprint. But yeah, this is another decision tree here of you could go Sprint, send Soul Scissors, and then you'll have the Soul Scissors engrave, the Sprint, Gigantic Bounce, and the Smashers interrupt, and then also the Freezing Curses draw 2, obviously, but Freezing Curses interrupt. But I think if you're going blind, it's probably best to establish the Djinn Buster, and then we'll play Fountain. And then, yeah, so on their turn we'll have Monster Negate, a Banish, another Monster Negate, and a draw 2. So let's see what that draw 2 is. Okay, and then we'll have that guaranteed Runick follow-up and also guaranteed Sprite follow-up. So that just shows another below average hand, not quite so bad, but still can lead somewhere. It does not take much to get the engines rolling. Now more so than ever, I think it's a Runick deck first and a Sprite deck second, so you just always want to guarantee that you're going to keep those fountain draws coming and protect that fountain. Okay, finally a decent hand. This will probably be the last one of the video, and probably the best example of a hand you can expect. If we were to go second, we would have the fountain. Yeah, ironically, this would be pretty rough going second, probably. You do have these cards are fairly good at chewing through things, and then opening the fountain allows for a bit more flexibility. But by far the best going first hand of this video so far. So we will begin. You'd have to make the tough decision of whether you want to pitch the Messenger or pitch the Pixies. I think if you're going blind, you just pitch Messenger every time. So we'll begin by going Destruction for Hugin, pitch Messenger, grab Fountain, Then we'll activate Fountain, and before we get our draws, we're going to want to thin out our deck. So we'll first activate Starter. Starter will get blue, blue will get jet, jet will get a Smashers. There's actually, since this is a decent hand, there are far more options with this one. There's a few options with this. You don't necessarily need to go this. You could even just try to get your draws off first and then see what you want a starter for after that. But I think going blind, we put a high priority on just generating Runick cards rather than, like, say, saving the starter for a carrot. So we'll overlay for the Gigantic. Then we will Gigantic effect. Summon out Capshell. We'll freeze and curses. And then, so here's an example of me like giving up my guaranteed Runick follow-up, but it's quite likely that when we draw 3, we're going to draw into at least one Runick card. So we'll get our 2 draws here, and there we go, we got a tip. Go for Sprind. You could also go for IP here, but I like Sprind most of the time. So then we'll go Capshell Chainlink 1, Sprind Chainlink 2, so that we can get the Soul Scissors out of the deck before we draw our card. We definitely don't want to draw into Soul Scissors. And we draw blue. Okay, so next we got the Pixies in hand as an interrupt. Alternatively, we could special it right now and make a Djinn Buster. But in hand, it provides protection. Honestly, maybe just specialing out blue, since we've yet to use its effect to special summon itself, and then make the Djinn Buster. I think that's probably the best bet. That way we get to hold on to the Pixies. But of course, you could hold the blue for follow-up. So we have Smashers, we have Tip for whatever we want. We got the Djinn Buster negate, the Sprind bounce, 3200 Gigantic, Soul Scissors Engrave, so much card advantage, and at least 2 draws off Fountain next turn. And we just keep all the engines rolling. So this is your average hand. This is basically what you can expect to do every game. Those first 2 were like anomalies, but yeah, this last hand is kind of what you can expect. And honestly, like those first 2 would be kind of crazy going second. Like just seeing the 6th card and having those incredible board breakers in your hand. So you can see how this deck really has a lot of power whether you go first or second. But yeah, hopefully that helps give you an idea of how to navigate your turns with Runick Spright.